but I don't know in Parliament generally how you could do that.
Okay, thank you. I've got a cluster of questions about whether it would have been more democratic of you to grant referendum on the EU. I've got one from Stephanie Hayden saying, do you think that had you granted a referendum on Maastricht, the UK would perhaps still be in the EU today? Another one saying, do you regret creating the conservative Eurosceptic movement by ramming through Maastricht? And there are quite a lot on that theme.
What? Would you mind saying that again? I'm not sure I heard that right. No, don't bother. I heard it perfectly well. I think there's
more democratic to have granted a referendum.
Yes, it was creating the Eurosceptic movement that made me raise an eyebrow.
Yeah.
My goodness, that was there right from Mr. Walker Smith, way back in the 1970s. The Eurosceptic movement has always been there. As for Maastricht, I'm glad that question was asked, because there is one distinct difference. Before I went to Maastricht, I presented in detail to the House of Commons what my negotiating position was, and after a debate, the House of Commons approved my negotiating position by about 500 votes to 100, something of that sort. It was a massive negotiating mandate for me at Maastricht, and I stuck strictly to that mandate. I brought back everything they asked, and I didn't leave off the table anything they asked. So it's hardly a question of ramming something through Parliament. What happened was, that was in the Parliament from 87 to 92. In the 92 Parliament, lots of the senior members in Parliament who had been in the war, or immediately post-war, who knew the most important thing in the world was to make sure there was never another war with Europe, left Parliament, and lots of young ideologues came into Parliament with a quite different view. So Parliament as an institution had approved my negotiating position, and as British Prime Minister, I had given my word on the basis of that parliamentary approval to other heads of government in the European Union, which is why they gave me what I was asking for. And now I go back to Parliament and a new group of MPs say, it doesn't matter that you as Prime Minister with parliamentary approval gave your word on behalf of the British nation, we now wish you to break your word. Now, if I had done that, I don't think Britain's name in the world would have been very good at all. And what was I supposed to be having a referendum on? I was supposed to be having a referendum on, for no reason at all, that we should suddenly leave the European Union. 20 years afterwards, with all the activities of the parts of the Eurosceptic media and the Eurosceptic movement, only by the tiniest of majorities did the vote to leave Europe go through on 37% of the electorate. Don't talk to me about the will of the people. The will of the people was 37% of the electorate on the basis of a great number of things which, in retrospect, I put this kindly, turn out to have been mistaken. Now, these days it's very popular in some quarters to say that we got Brexit done, and people cheer. If events continue as they are now, the time will come in the not too distant future when the people who are cheering will be rather sullen. So I think that it was quite right to behave as I did. And it would have been utterly dishonourable for a British Prime Minister to break his word to all the other nations in Europe on the basis that the composition of Parliament had suddenly decided that it didn't like what Parliament had previously agreed to. Is that clear?
It is clear.